And to make that even better, here's some key best practices and smart ways that we've seen companies do in year one that you can apply to year two to really make sure that you have that streamlined process in place, but still also remain compliant. 4 key areas. And the first one is looking at automation and integrating data collection. So what we see is, and that's what I flagged, is that a lot of companies have used spreadsheets. Now, spreadsheets can do a lot of things. They're very flexible, but you need to build them. You need to understand them. There will often be a lot of formulas involved. Sometimes it can end up in a bit of a house of cards that if you change one thing, the whole thing falls apart. If you have not built that spreadsheet, your colleague did, and you're in charge now of the DMA process, or your third-party advisor built that, and you now want to take ownership and update that, we've heard from a lot of people that can be extremely challenging. So look at, can software replace your spreadsheet? That's a key thing there. Also look internally. What are some internal systems that can help me be a bit smarter around this? We've heard from a lot of companies after year one that they said, well, it turned out a lot of our risks, corporate risks, were already captured in the ERM. So if we kind of knew that earlier or actioned and leveraged that earlier, we would have saved a lot of time. So you do want to make sure, because you're running a sustainability focused issue register, which impacts risks and opportunities. Now, likely your business has a risk register, an ERM that also captures risks. You want to make sure you integrate them and that you're not reinvent the wheel or run two separate processes for identifying risks and opportunities. And then look at, is there technology that I can use to monitor my IROs, how they change over time? So my materiality software, can that actually help me have a clearer view throughout the year on what I'm doing, rather than making this sprint every year? And that's the key, what we find companies want to do. They want to move out of spreadsheets, which are this sprint effort for a few months, and then there's nothing, into more of a paced marathon. Throughout the year, have a place where everything lives, where you easily can manage your IROs. And as things change, you can add, monitor, and update. In terms of stakeholder engagement, you want to look at how to optimize that. So focus on high impact groups and changes. So what we said is, look at where are potential hotspots, what are groups that are impacted, who can provide the best quality detail, and only contact your critical stakeholders, the ones that you can really learn something from. And make sure you talk to them in a tailored manner. So a survey with 40 questions or 40 topics ranging everything in your value chain, will that really be useful to send it to all your stakeholders? Your response rates are going to be low. Probably people are not the appropriate people to answer all those questions. So be more focused on that. Identify existing feedback channels. And this is a key thing I find as well, is that in businesses, there are often already a lot of stakeholder engagement. Procurement is talking to suppliers, investor relations talking to your investors, etc. There are a lot of existing channels in which feedback can be collected in a more business as usual manner if you manage to embed sustainability in those teams. Explain to them what you're doing. They may have been part of the process last year. You want to bring them on board and make sure that going forward, they're asking some key questions and doing some things to capture that stakeholder feedback on an ongoing basis in their day-to-day work. If you do any surveys, see if you can automate that process. Can you automate your surveying with dedicated software that's really built for materiality surveying? And look at, when you do interviews with experts, structured mini interviews. And this goes back to the point, when you talk to a subject matter expert, they're really knowledgeable about a key area. So ask them about that. And it sounds very common sense, but often we still see that they get a lot of questions about other things as well. Really bring it back to where can they help you most. Go deep with them on one topic and give them 20 topics and get shallow answers. In terms of your governance and the roles, look at how you can strengthen that. So again, common sense, assign a DMA owner to oversee the process, but this is really important to have one core person, but also make sure that it's not just their responsibility in terms of doing all the work, and that's the siloed approach. You need one person to own the DMA and the updates, but have a cross-functional task force there, with people that are there to go to ask questions, and they can help you get stakeholder feedback identify the changes in the business. I help you identify gaps, validate all the delta analysis, the IRO register. And again, cannot emphasize that enough. Document all your changes in decision making. So keep that audit trail and that change log. That will help you a lot with assurance in the end. Finally, then, in terms of validation and benchmarking, look at what your peers are doing. So in year one, that was hard because everyone's figuring this out. But right now, there is a lot of information out there. And if your industry, your peers have not done this, look at adjacent industries, or just look at other companies and see how they've done it. You can learn a lot from unpacking a report and just getting to that component where they talk about their DMA and what they've done. Also use GRI and ISSB, even if you're just doing the CSRD, to see if they have any new updates about sector-specific shifts or changes. And like I said, monitor legislative updates. What is changing in the world? Doing those things will really help you be more streamlined and focused.